Well, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I am Keith, and this is Life Journey Production Studios. Thank you so much. I'm kind of excited about this topic. It's kind of eclectic, and I apologize ahead of time if you are confused by all the things we're going to cover tonight. And I have a couple of different angles I'm going to show you today. I also want to talk about kind of the progression of this studio, but really want to spend some time tonight and again welcoming you guys to the stream. And at the end I want to take some questions, so hopefully you'll stay to the end. Let me know where you're from. Thank you so much for joining me. This channel has really been dedicated to lately to live streaming. I do have a production company called Life Journey Productions, have a website, and if you do any searching you should be able to find that. I have a podcast that I produce for my wife called More About Birth, and that happens right here now in this studio, and we've gone through a progression. We're going to show you some slides of that. Going to show you some behind the scenes footage from this weekend when I got to visit a venue and see the behind the scenes of the video production for live. Quite fascinating. It had absolutely a blast. My wife had to pretty well drag me out of there, and get to go back again Thursday evening. I'm looking forward to that, and that's more a rehearsal night. But I wanted to see the actual live production, and so I've got to do that. And I have some footage of that as well, some behind the scenes footage, as well as way back about 6 or 7 months ago, to show you how that venue's progressed. Also talk about how my venue here has progressed, because I'm sure if you're like me, you're on this journey. If you're doing live, or you're on Twitch, or you're gaming, or you do live video production, maybe funerals, weddings, you might be doing that. You might be on hold, like I'm in the state of Washington, so it's been very limited. This venue happens to be able to be up and running, and so we're going to take a look at that. So that's kind of where we're going tonight. Again, we're going to touch base on the small home studio versus the big venue, or the large venue, as I said in my pre-still. And we're going to cover a little bit about the equipment that they're using, some of the different things that they're having to do to really be progressive and divide up the responsibilities. And that was super fascinating to me. Obviously, when I'm in here, I have my headphones on. And so if I want to hear the audio and make sure everything's going good, I have to wear the headphones. I can play a little bit of audio from my phone and check out the stream and see who's online. But at the same time, I don't have the virtue of being able to do all of these things all at the same time. So if I want to check the audio, I'm looking at my meters. But if I really want to listen to what I'm sending out on the airways, then I need to obviously pick up the headphones and check that out. So hopefully everything's working. Let me know in the notes here. Those of you on live, it looks like we have at least one person that said hi here. Let's take a look. Greet you. Yeah, I don't see a name here, so let me know. It says, oh, this is Hank. So thanks for coming on, Hank. I sure appreciate it. And I've been trying to be on live on Tuesdays, and obviously live will go up onto my site after the fact, but we're on live. I have a number of slides I've prepared, spent quite a bit of time tonight just getting ready for our live stream, and wanted to really help you guys kind of understand the progression of being in a home studio compared to being in a live venue. Now, not every live venue or home studio is the same, and we'll talk a little bit about that tonight. But I do think there's some stark comparisons. The investment for being in a live venue, if it be a church, or if it be a wedding facility, or if it be a concert venue, and you're going to do live streaming, there's a number of things that I saw that really interested me, and I wanted to kind of look at that tonight. So want to jump right in. Before I did that, I don't have a regular video out, but I wanted to just say that I have a couple little products here. I'm going to be unboxing some HDMI cables, and then these are the splitters I've been using in the studio. So people have asked me about these, so I just wanted to talk about them. I'm just on Amazon. So None of these videos are sponsored. My channel is under 1,000 subscribers. So right now I'm just spending my own money and building this studio and trying to get as much as I can out of my ATEM Mini Pro. So I plan on touching base on those later this week in a video, so stay tuned to that. That'll just be posted here on YouTube. That won't be a live, but I want to talk about that and a couple other things that I've done to help expand the studio. And from this shot, you can just see my laptop, and if I change cameras here, then from this angle, you can see that I have a monitor here. So in order to send the multi-view to there, I have to split it because I also have a multi-view just off camera underneath my main camera. I have a confidence monitor and then on top of this camera. And so if you actually see me look up a little bit when I'm using this camera, there's more distance on this camera than there is on this camera here. My monitor is just below this camera, which I really like, and I'm using a Manfrotto super clamp and some attachments and even a ball head to get this in position. And so when I look at this monitor, it's just below the camera. So it kind of looks like I'm looking directly in the camera, but I am still glancing down. And then when I use this camera, I try not to look up at my confidence monitor other than when I'm making sure that things are in focus. So both of these shots, this one right here that you're seeing right now, and then this shot right here, both of these have a monitor. And the reason for that is that I do a lot of my just talking stuff this way where I'm not pushing a lot of buttons. And then if I'm going to really be working in here, like if I do my wife's podcast, I can go this way. And if I want to be on camera in her podcast, because I am a voice in the background and they're right behind me in the set, I can then use this camera and I could go on live for a minute if I wanted to. And I don't do that often, but I can, and that's why we set it up this way. Mostly I'm doing one camera shot and I reposition this camera right here to aim at them. So small studios obviously are different than large studios because of what happens in a large venue. You have an audience or not an audience. So a lot of venues were still doing their live streams, but not having any audience in there. And if they do have audience, it's still limited in a lot of venues. So the transition has been fascinating to me from going from small production, right? Some people had one camera showing their church services or an iPhone for a funeral, which I've seen a lot of them. I've attended 2 funerals so far during COVID online, maybe 3, and 1 wedding, and I couldn't hear people that stood up to share. The camera was never quite positioned right, especially in a wedding. You know, there's lots of things happening. I didn't get to see the bride come down the aisle. And so I really thought about having a conversation off and on our channel about live venues. And then when I go Thursday, I want to shoot some behind the scenes footage and not just photographs. I did come tonight with some behind the scenes photographs. And then later on, we'll have some more footage because I don't want to run away from this topic because I think live production venues is going to be a topic. I believe that things are changing here in the world and you're going to see more and more of that. I shared how the Grammys had kind of an interesting way they did it. They were outdoors under a gazebo. So it's quite fascinating. And then all the music performances were done. It looked like in a giant indoor theater you know, in Hollywood, and they did it in the rounds. So artists were watching other artists perform and they just rotated the camera on these different sets. And then they reset it up for another group of artists. And then they would cut back to the outdoor venue. And as they were making presentations, there was planes flying over. You could hear the noise in that part of the outdoors. And so obviously if you're going to do outdoors, those are things to consider too. So everybody's making adjustments, and lots of people are starting to have home studios, and you may just use a camera for Zoom or for meetings, or maybe you're doing training. Maybe you have an ATEM Mini, maybe you have some other tool like a YOLO box. I spent a lot of my time focusing in on the ATEM because I don't have a YOLO box, and just talking about how I've been progressing, learning it, and sharing that information with you about the Hyperdeck, which is used to play videos, and also motion graphics, which was what my last live stream was focused on. So anyway, so let's dive right in right now. I want to kind of put some slides up here. So let me go in here and add a slide. Let's see, let's start with this one tonight. So I'm not gonna put picture here. You're just gonna look at the screen for a minute, but I just wanted to walk you through this. This is the venue that I visited. It's a local church here in our area. In the bottom there, you can see the pastor and his wife. And that was a shot that I went and actually set some lights up because they were doing everything that they were doing at that time for their facilities was just being streamed. And the only live audience in the room were the staff and people that were helping with the live stream. And they had taken their lights down and they'd moved into a back venue so that they could have their music portion kind of in an intimate couch and bar stool setting. And then out in the main venue, they would do the sharing and the talk. And it was, you know, it was just kind of dark. And you can see those pictures, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Those were all during that period of time. And also the cameras that they were using, because now they've updated their system. They use Blackmagic Design stuff to do switching, but at the time they had a multitude of different kind of cameras. And I want to show you the progression. So this is back around Christmas time. And before that, when I went with my lights, it was in August. So that bottom set, picture number 7 was way back in August. And then you can see they actually had some live audience in later. After the holidays, all segregated with masks on, and you can see some of the pictures and the lighting there. And these were just clipped right from YouTube. Just so you know, I just clipped them, and you know, you see the same thing I'm seeing. So I just took those right from social media, and they were obviously set to 1080p at the highest resolution on YouTube. And that's where I went to clip these. If I'd clipped them from Facebook, there wouldn't been as higher resolution. So for me, what I really was looking at when I first went there was the cameras that they had, the low lights, because a lot of the cameras that a lot of churches and other outdoor venues have had were with smaller processors, and they didn't perform very good in low light. And so when you lower the lights and you get that kind of intimate look, like they had in some of those photographs, that low light really caused those pictures to break up and get grainy. And that was just kind of interesting to me. And I got to be there to put my lights until they got their lights set back up. So for about 3 weeks, I was there setting up lights for their live stream and got to just see the behind the scenes. And then I found out they were changing their cameras, getting some Blackmagic Design Ursas and pretty cool looking cameras. I'm gonna look at those a little closer this Thursday and share about what they're getting out of those and show you even more pictures of that. And so that was about 6 or 7 months ago. Now everything's been kind of updated. They've relocated where they're doing their production from as far as what takes place backstage. And we're going to talk about that right now. And so I want to show you the before and after pictures before I take you backstage and show you how they separate out the workflow, which is really what I was fascinated with. So hang tight. Let me put up another still here for you. And if you know the Blackmagic control software, I'm just dragging in new stills out of my media pool and just replacing my lower third graphic here. So then the cameras changed, and this is what you get. So they went from that, and the lighting's pretty much the same. Now this is during the talking time, and those are the pictures I clipped. But I wanted to show that in contrast to what the talking time looked like prior to that. So let me pop that back over. So this is what it looked like prior, except for that bottom picture where I added my lights. And I had 3 lights with soft boxes, 2 lights up front with soft boxes to fill the right and the left because I wanted them to be able to move around. And then I had another light behind for kind of a hair light separation light. And so That's why that bottom picture looks so well. The other pictures were just their regular lights. And this is their regular lights after they got them set up. In our next stream, when we talk about this, I'll show you some of the before they got their lights set up. But this is kind of after they got their light spots set up. And then this is after they got their new cameras from Blackmagic. And I really like the pictures. Again, these are clipped right from social media on YouTube, and you can see what they have here. So now what I want to do is I want to pop in this behind the scenes photograph. But just before I do that, let me set this up just a little bit here and explain to you what I really saw. So I was able to go on Sunday morning to get there and had permission from the guy who runs the show there, Alex Salisbury, and was very fascinated with how intelligent he is. And we had been texting and talking back and forth, and I'd bumped into him when I was there running lights. But I never really got a chance to really go backstage and get a tour from him. And so I got that tour on Sunday morning and got a chance to, after the live service broadcast on social media, I was able to then look at all the equipment, but I got to sit there in the stations right behind those guys as they were running things, and that was quite fascinating for me. So let me pop this picture up. These are shots I took on my phone right there in the venue, and I have some titles kind of here on here as well. So right in the center, you can see their rack, and this is where they had their Blackmagic Design ATEM MINI 4K, and above that, you can see that they have the Ethernet. One of those actually is fiber, and it's the top one. And then below that's just a regular network set up to run the cables through the building. And they can actually run fiber now to other places in the building. And that's that top one. And those things, some of them have been with them. Some of them have been changed recently. And then before I put my picture up here, I want to just go over the top left picture is a sound room. So they're actually mixing their live sound in a separate room. And this is quite fascinating to me, because you think about live sound, the biggest challenge with live sound, and if you've done it before, you hear what's going on in the room. And so they still have live sound in their main room, but now they have another room that they have built insulated. They still need to treat the walls a little bit, but the walls have been treated, and I've built studios before, so I can knock on a wall and know how well the room has been treated as far as the walls. And so it's quite fascinating. So inside that room, again, back at this slide, at top left, you can actually see that you got a tech there. I'm standing at the doorway, so it's not a big facility. And snap this picture, and they have their own Behringer console there. He can listen to those room speakers to just what's going live. He's doing a separate mix. And then he can use the monitor on the left from the Mac, and he can turn off the sound from his board inside that room from those speakers, and then listen to the audio coming just in the live stream. And so he can hear what it sounds like. Now, the interesting thing was, and he and I talked about this, is he literally had a 7-second delay. So he had 7 seconds of delay from the time he was mixing it until it got to the live stream. Plus, they had a team of people on the other end at their homes listening to the broadcast and texting him any issues with sound, if it was too loud or breaking up, so he could have another reference coming from the people. Fascinating. So again, a separate sound room, getting all the feeds from the main venue for the music part, as well as the speaking part, anybody that was on a microphone, anybody that was singing, all the instruments, including the drums. The drums were mic'd in a booth. And then all of that was going to the main room console. And there was all that sound was then going to that back live production audio room, and he could mix it right there on that Behringer board and send that mix out to live stream. And so when I'm in my studio, I have to use my headphones to do my live mix. I'm watching my meters to make sure everything's working right, that you have audio. but that was just fascinating to me that they had a separate room. And so he was in a room mixing this way, and on the behind the wall is this other group of people. So let's look at that. So here you have on the right-hand side, the other console, and you can see it's bigger right below on the bottom left. And so right there you have on the left, the production, all of the live switching happening, the communication with the camera people, running the board, which is attached to the 2ME. So she has knobs and all dissolve functions and all of that. And you can see her hands a little more up close on the top right photograph. You can see she has a multi-view, and then she has a confidence monitor on her left in that top right picture or that bottom left picture. And that actually is coming, she has the ability to choose all the cameras, to check focus, to check color. And that was quite fascinating too. And so wanted to talk about that just here for a second. So, the reason you want to have a confidence monitor, like right now on my ATEM Mini Pro, right? I can actually change cameras. I can check camera 1, I can check camera 2. And if I use this monitor to my right, let me switch cameras. So if I use this monitor to my right, if I want to do what she's doing, I can do the same thing. She was reaching over and touching a switcher, and she could check camera 1. So there's that would be my camera 1. She could then check her camera 2 to make sure things are looking good. And I only have the 2 cameras right now. I do have camera 4, but we'll switch over to that right now. It's I'm using channel 3 and 4 for my Hyperdeck, and I have to switch those, and I'll show you that here in a minute. So again, it's quite fascinating that she has the ability to switch back and forth and not have to wonder what those shots are. So if she's wondering about focus, she can bring that up on her left-hand side. I'll put that picture up here again so you can look at that. So she has that monitor. That's the bottom left shot and top right shot, and that is the video station. Now to the right of her, in this photograph, to the right and down is the Pro Presenter station. So on the Pro Presenter, they are sending video to their live stream. Their intro video and their outro video is coming from that Macintosh, and also the lower third words and also the confidence monitor are coming from her mix. Now in the main auditorium, because they still do have someone in the main auditorium. In the main auditorium, let me switch cameras here. Even I'm getting confused, right? In the main auditorium, they still have the soundboard operator, and that's for the main room, because if you're sitting in that room like my wife was, that room needs a mix. And then the room that I was sitting in part of the time, there is a live stream mix happening, and we talked a lot about that. And then also inside that recording station, right, where they're sitting the live stream and they're doing the live mix, you've got the person with the headphones on, changing the different shots, talking to the camera people, positioning them to get ready to go to camera 2, go to camera 3. And they had 3 cameras in the main room. One they used for a lot of close-ups on the left-hand side of the stage, looking at the stage. And then they had on the far right another far-away camera so they could get some audience shots in. And then in the middle, they had their kind of center camera. And then they had a drum camera in the back corner so they could actually show the drummer playing. It was really cool. It was a shot coming up from his back right, and that was a cool shot. And so quite fascinating, all the pieces going together, but also in the auditorium, they have these giant monitors. And in those giant monitors, you have a signal going from this multi-view, and you can see it if you look at that multi-view a little closer. Let me see if I have that other slide here. Get you in closer to that shot. Let's just drop this in. So that multi-view, you can see the guy talking and the camera getting ready to go, preview on the left and program on the right. And then in the bottom, 4 little quadrants, you can see the 3 cameras, the drum camera, and then in the right quadrant, you can see the camera number 4, and then on the bottom, kind of in the middle to the left, you can see their big projection screens. So they're actually sending a signal from that right-hand desk in this shot is also going to those projection screens, and some of the same words on that projection screen are going to the live stream, and you can see those words on the bottom right-hand side here on the screen. So quite fascinating, lots and lots of things happening in these slides. So the difference between a live venue at home, right, and a live venue at a big, large venue like this is really, in reality, some of the same tools. Like, right, I can put slides on the screen right now if I want to. So if I want to drop in my lower thirds, I can drop in my lower thirds right now and turn it on. And so I can have that on the screen, but I have to operate it all myself, or I can set up macros. But I've stayed away from macros because I really want to focus on all the buttons that you have to push so people understand, because once you understand all the buttons, then you can start understanding how you want to build your macros. And it's quite fascinating, the difference of how you have to run a home studio compared to, or versus, a large venue. Because in a large venue, there was someone literally dedicated to taking care of the video for the intro, the video for the outro, the big screens, all right? And then the 2 smaller screens in her multi-view that were being sent directly to the live stream, so that in the live stream, while the band was up singing, the words were on the lower part of the screen, and it's quite fascinating. So then you had an audio technician taking care of listening and mixing the live stream music, the live stream speaking, and making sure that the live stream intro video volume and the outro video and all of that was going as it needed to go. And that same person can go in and do mix in the live venue, and the same person, they're interchangeable because they can mix inside or out. Now, the other thing that happens outside that we're not going to focus on tonight, but I wanted to tell you, you also have someone inside the auditorium, because there's other things going out to different places in the auditorium, and lighting needed to be taken care of, which is the main thing that you would find inside the venue. So some of those pieces that used to happen in that sound booth inside the main venue has now been moved to backstage, because those things can be handled back there. There's less distractions, and you can limit the bodies inside the main sound booth inside the main venue. So fascinating. I hope you're enjoying this. So let's talk about one more thing here before we move on to kind of some of the transitions that I've had to go through. First thing here, let me show you a slide. Couple bigger pictures. On YouTube, you can actually find out what the stream looks like. You can click and get information. So I put it up on the screen. So this is actually before I took the still image. I could bring up the stream quality and all of that. So if you look at this close enough, and if that's too far away, let's see, this is the closest I can get us to that. You can see that I had it set at 1920 by 1080, which is 1080p, 30 frames per second. They're getting an optimal 30 frames per second at high def. And then you can see they were actually keeping the loudness at minus 12.2. Now that blew my mind. And I wanted to talk about that just for a second here. The reason that blows my mind is when I did my research and you're supposed to render your audio for YouTube, I heard that you usually send it at minus 16, and then they were going to render it, you know, either up or down, depending on how it came across. And you want to get as close to what they're rendering it at, so you get less compression when they start doing it again, or artifacts when they start doing it again. So I've been uploading pretty much all of my audio when I create a video at right around minus 16, 17, minus 18, just depending on what kind of mood I'm in that day. And then it goes up to YouTube. And this is the first time I've really looked at a video on YouTube and found out that you can look at the specs. And so I looked at the specs as Tom was speaking in this video that was from Sunday. And it's fascinating to see what was on the screen. So you can see all the information that you can see. It gives you, as you're streaming it, it gives you kind of a data of how it's going. You can see if it dropped any frames, and you can even see the codec they're using, an AVC1 codec that's going up to that stream. Now, what I don't know exactly is that it obviously is the stream that is hitting YouTube is what you're seeing there. So I have those specs here on my studio. It doesn't give me all the information, but I'll show you that here real quick. Turn that off again, go to camera 2. And so right here I have, my data rate's been actually going between 2.39 all the way up to 6.58. So it's been all over the place tonight. And that's just my internet. That's how I'm streaming. I've not seen my cache go in. It tells me how long I've been on the air for 45 minutes and 41 seconds. That's including the pre 7-minute intro time. And so I have that information here. I can see how my record's doing on disc 1. I don't have a disc 2. So I am recording right here, and it tells me how much space I have. I'm getting really close to being full. So I'll have to offload some of the videos that I've been recording on here as a backup. And that's just recording my program view from my ATEM Mini Pro. I can't record any ISO tracks because I don't have the ATEM Mini Pro ISO. So again, really fascinating to be able to see some of this information that's available online. So let's switch back to camera 1. So now let me pop up a slide here I put together for tonight. And this is kind of the progression of my studio. And I'm going to go ahead and see if I can't pop up picture in picture here. There I am. And if you know anything about the ATEM Mini, you can go into the palettes and increase the size of the picture in picture. So I'm going to do that right while we're live. Move it down and over. And then I'll put this slide up. Guess I can't get picture in picture to go up there now. So anyway, let's look at the slide. So on the top of this slide is my studio. In the very beginning, I was in my bedroom. And then for my wife's podcast, we were using our dining room table. And then we talked about it in the summer last year. And we really felt like we needed to try to get more organized and not have to set up all the lights and all that. So I moved into this back room that I'm in now. And you can see that. That's the middle row. You can see the 3 different sets that I have. I have the table for unboxing. I have the one that you see me on right now. And obviously, I can turn either way in this set. I can be facing this way, or I can turn around and I can face this way. So a lot of my consulting and my phone conversations and teaching people how to use different things in live streaming, as well as other things I can do I can show people how to get into YouTube, how to log into their YouTube, how to post videos and all that right here in the studio. And I usually work from this direction for that. And then usually when I'm streaming, I'm at this direction, and this has got kind of my lights back here. You can see Zoe sitting there, and this is kind of my set for my live streaming. And a lot of that has progressed over time. And so having a home studio compared to a new studio, you can see in this center picture that I have those 3 different sets. You can see me sitting on the chairs, my wife and her assistant. My wife's on the far right, her assistant's on the far left, and then the guest was in the middle. And then you can see on the bottom kind of 3 different positions: me on the chairs, me at my desk, and my son and I doing probably our best video right now on our channel. We were doing an unboxing on his new NZXT computer that he purchased, and I convinced him to do an unboxing with his dad, which for me was really, really, really cool. And that video has been really popular. I was a gamer for years, and so I get get where he's coming from, and I'm being as supportive as I can. I've purchased some things for him for his streaming. He's on Twitch, and he's also a student at college doing it from his bedroom, and he set up his little studio there. And if you go to the NZXT video or our newest video where we unboxed the Keylight Air by Elgato, again, nothing sponsored here. I purchased the Elgato Keylight for his 20th birthday, and that video is up here on my channel. And the NZXT unboxing video shows both those videos show the behind the scenes in his Twitch little studio. So he's got a studio with a camera, a web camera. He's got a Keylight Air. I have two Keylights by Elgato, the brighter ones. His are about half as bright as mine. They will go to the different color temperatures. I also have these lights right here. I'm actually using find my switch here. I'm using my Godox lights, and I have two UL 150s. I have them because they're silent. I love them, and I can turn that hair light now off and on, so you should be able to see that come on and off, and it really makes me look too gray. That's why I normally don't use it, but it's a good separation light, and I have two of those in the studio, and they normally face these other two positions back here. So the chair set, as well as when I'm at the table and the table is not up right now, I'll switch cameras and point at that table. I built that tabletop. It's actually right here under the TV, you can see. And that goes right on top of a Costco table. So I'm not gonna have any audio real quick, but I'm gonna jump up and show you that real quick. So please stand by. That goes right here, guys, on this Costco table. And that was my wife's idea. She said, why don't we just build a nice table on top of that for our interview set? And so because of her idea, we went to the garage and we built that. So there's a big progression when you are building a studio, and you got to kind of start identifying what your needs are, what you're trying to accomplish. And that's the progression here in my studio, going from, you know, all of these different, where is that picture again? Lots of slides up here. Going from all these different situations, from my bedroom in those first two pictures, and then up there in my dining room, which we really like that set. It's very bright, surrounded by windows on 2/3 of it. And then moving into this room, and you can see my two Godox lights that hang down from my ceiling. And I have one of those turned and pointing right down over top of my head tonight. And then you can see the set with my wife's More About Birth. That's sitting at that table I just showed you. And then I have these three chairs. Two of them are in here now. I keep one in the garage to be able to bring it in when we have a guest and we want to use that set. And that's our least favorite look here in the studio. So we've been really using the table. I've been using the table for unboxing. So anytime I want to get technical and just focus everybody in on the table, that's what I use the table for. The chair set we'll probably use more as we adjust to it. It's a little harder to get the cameras and all that working for that because it's pretty low. It's not elevated, and when you have chairs and you're sitting down, some of these things that I have on the wall get a little tall for those shots. And so we're working on that. We really like the way this room looks when you're at the table, and the table's up pretty high at the highest height. And it's adjustable table, so I can get it almost to basically coffee table height and all the way up to where I could actually stand behind it. And it's about the same length below me as my desk when I'm standing up. And so I love that option. So again, we've looked at the difference between a home studio where I'm doing the audio mixing, I'm shifting cameras. I don't have a team in here. So I'm streaming right now live. I have to use my headphones for my audio. And I'm using a Rodecaster Pro for that. And I have a video here that shows you that. I do have my Skycam here, so let me turn it back on. It's my Canon 5D Mark III, and it times out after 30 minutes. And I have it in channel 4, so I have to switch over to it. Give that a second, and then I'll show you the down at my desk. So here's my desk. I have my Rodecaster Pro right here. I can bring picture-in-picture up now. So I have the Rodecaster Pro right here. I have my Stream Deck, which I mainly use for my Elgato key lights. I do have zoom features in it, and I highly recommend that. That's kind of behind my picture-in-picture. That's right here, and that's next to my Hyperdeck. That's where I played my intro video and outro video. I can also set this up to play lower third graphics, and my camera 3 is using channel 4 in my ATEM Mini Pro right now. So if I want to be able to use the alpha channel, I would have to switch back, and I'm using a 2 in and 1 out switch to be able to send both my camera and, let me switch back to picture-in-picture, both my camera and my Hyperdeck to channel 3 in my ATEM Mini. So that means I can have my overhead camera when I need it, and I just switch that usually off camera. I always demo it in these live videos so people can see that there is a delay. So if I hit that switch right now, the camera goes out. Oh, that was the wrong switch. Sorry, I just brought in my desktop. Hit that again. You can see it goes out. The picture-in-picture's still up. And now it's the Hyperdeck, and I don't have anything playing in the Hyperdeck. But if I was to get a graphic ready, which I'm going to do right now while you're looking at this crazy screen. So we'll go into my player, media player, and I'll choose my lower third graphic, and let's hit play on that. And so now you can see just in the program view, just the alpha channel. So that's because I took over my Hyperdeck on the lower screen. So that's what an alpha channel looks like. All it is boxing out my Journey Podcast logo, which I showed in the last stream. So in order to get that to work correctly, then I've got to make sure I have both channel 3 set up, and then I've got to go on the air and hit play. And so now you see that I have a actual lower thirds animated graphic. So if I turn that to follow, so I tie it to both channels, then I should be able to now switch back to my main screen. I have to tie it now. So let's tie it now and put it on air. So there it is playing over top of me. This is another graphic that I made just to demonstrate moving graphics from the Hyperdeck. And then I have another graphic here. Let's go back to this one right here. And this shows the whole thing animating, coming in and then animating out. And I made this logo when I was doing the ATEM Mini Pro Hyperdeck Mini Alpha channel video right here on this channel. So again, quite fascinating. So I can just have this logo playing. Oops, let's get that logo up here. I can just have this logo playing. If I go up here and loop it, it's just going to continue to loop, and that's what I showed in the last video. So my Hyperdeck is one of the options I have here, and now we're going to switch back so I can show you my overhead camera, give you the rest of that tour here in the studio. Okay, let's switch back. And so let me take this off the air, sorry. So there's the rest of my desk. So then I have my ATEM Mini Pro. I'm using my iPad right now to watch the chat, and it's right here, setting up. And so that's kind of a tour of my desk. ATEM Mini Pro, Hyperdeck, my Stream Deck, and then my Rodecaster Pro, where I control all the audio for this stream. And so back to camera 1 and back to our main graphic here. So all of these steps, well, we don't need that on. Let's go back to here. So all of those things I have to do. So switching from my my Hyperdeck, all of that, and I can set the Hyperdeck to auto roll if I want. And if I have auto roll set, then it'll just automatically roll the intro video I have queued up if I change the channel 3, and because that's where I have my Hyperdeck. So again, small home studios versus large home studios. I have to run anything in here, and we're constantly adjusting for the different things we do. If you're on YouTube and you're doing unboxings, that may be one set, moving cameras around. Same thing happens in a live venue, in a large live venue. They're moving cameras, maybe right and left, panning in and out, doing pushes and pulls. I'm not doing any of those pushes and pulls. In the live show, I could reach up and zoom in and zoom out. I have a zoom lens both places, so I could literally zoom in, but it's not automatic. And they have the ability from their Ursa cameras to zoom in and zoom out, and it's quite cool to watch that happen. They have to make the switches and decisions what camera they're going to show next, and they have someone in the back with headphones on talking to the camera people. I just talk to myself in a home studio. They're using their Mac to play videos for their intro and outro, and they're not doing any animated graphics that I saw. They do have that background playing on their big screens, which is really cool. That's playing from their Macintosh, so they can play their background. And using Pro Presenter, they can put up lyrics. They can also do their intro video and their outro video through Pro Presenter as well, using the Macintosh. I use the Hyperdeck here in my studio. I have to do all my own mixing of my audio. I don't have a separate guy in a room doing that. And that's just the things going on behind the scenes. You still have all of the things that are being coordinated in the main venue, other people with headsets on coordinating what's going on in the main venue, as well as 2 people in the back booth doing lights and doing live audio. So incredible experience to go see that. A shout out to the Garden here in the Tri-Cities. And the team there, Alex Salisbury, and your video production team, I just want to say thank you for allowing me to go behind the scenes and be able to take some photographs and share those with you guys tonight. So let me look to see if there's anybody here asking questions. Man, it looks like it's just been you and I tonight, Hank. So if you have any questions, let me know. You can leave them here. I try to answer every single one of the questions or comments. And again, if you haven't subscribed, subscribe. If you haven't liked this channel, like it. I hope that us breaking some of these things down, showing you pictures, showing how things are progressing here in my studio, showing how things were progressing there at that facility, and how they've adjusted over time from being in some smaller venues for just live streaming with no live audience to now having some people back in the building, even though it's very limited. Now they're doing both a service in the main venue for the people there as well as people out there. I have a friend I'm helping that has a venue over in Snohomish. They're not open yet. He's been doing just live streaming, but he's getting set up to be able to have a number of rooms in his facility to be able to broadcast to, and he's ordered a ATEM Mini Extreme. And I shared with you, I think last week, that I ordered an ATEM Mini Extreme ISO. I did get a report today from the dev store here in the state of Washington, where I ordered mine, and I'm number 53 because I waited until about 7 days ago, and they've got their first shipment here in the United States into the state of Washington, and those have been distributed to the first group of people. I don't know if I'm now up higher on the list or there's still 53 people ahead of me, so it's going to be a while before I get my ATEM Mini Extreme. So we're going to continue hammering away at the ISO, the Pro, and the Mini, and talking about how you can use the Hyperdeck and you can begin to grow around that. And again, I'll be talking about these and doing an unboxing for both of these. And talking about how I'm using these inside my studio. So thank you for tuning in today. If you do have any questions, please leave them here. If you're watching this video later on YouTube, thank you for checking us out. And I hope it hasn't been too long and too eclectic, but it was really fascinating for me to be able to go behind the scenes. And if you're like me, because of what's been going on in our world, I've been spending a lot of time in this room. So for me to get out and be inside that venue and be around other people working around all of this equipment. That was incredibly joyful for me. So before we go out, let's show you some up close and personal pictures of both in their studio. Again, here's the console that they were using to mainly just color the cameras. So they have two consoles there. If they had automatic cameras, they could run those as well. From the deck on the right, it has a knob on it, and the deck on the left is for them to adjust and color grade all of their cameras. And I believe right now they only have 3 Blackmagic Design cameras hooked up to that. And I will bring you back the specs of what cameras they have the next time after I get there Thursday. So close up again of that desk. Shout out to those 2 gals for letting me bother them while they were live streaming. Here's the rack again with all the equipment that they had. And they also have the ability, the matrix. I forget what it's called. I have it in that first slide. Let's bring that first slide back up. And it's called the Smart Video Hub. And I'd love to get the smaller version of that here in my studio. So that's what's in that rack. And then they have the 4K 2ME in that rack. And then they have other equipment that they're recording there, even other equipment besides Blackmagic Design. They even have to split their projector HDMI output and split it to 2 giant screens in the main auditorium. And I'm not sure of any of these pictures that I have show off their giant screens. Yeah, you can kind of see one there on the bottom right, that giant screen there on the left. And in actually 2 of those middle pictures have the giant screens on there, and they have to send a split signal to those. So a little bit about my background before we go. I used to have this recording studio in my old house, and so I really do have a passion for audio. I just kind of wanted to give you a quick clip. That's a studio that we built inside our old garage, and it had a control room, and I had a blast working in that studio, and we've been kind of moving away from that. I went from that to a mastering room. I'll show you pictures in the future. And then I was in my little bedroom in the corner using a monitor and my laptop. There's my Canon 5D Mark IV, and I was using a Rode Pod mic that we bought for podcasting. So, man, it doesn't really matter what you have or how you're doing it. I think the important thing, and I want to say, good job, man. If you're checking out this channel and you're learning and you're growing and you're saving you all the research time to come here and maybe help me answer some of the questions and you asking me some of the questions, I think that's great. I think we need to network as much as we can during this time and learn from each other. Have you got more viewers? You deserve more. Yeah, actually, the channel's growing. We are on pace, I think, before the end of the month to hit 400. I think I looked yesterday. We were at 365. I've seen 11 new subscribers in a day, and that may not seem a lot to anybody, but I've only been really working hard on this channel. I spent a lot of time working in my wife's podcast, learning all of this, and I will be talking more about that on the channel, learning all the things you have to do to get an audio podcast set up on Google Play, on Apple, getting a distributing location. We use Libsyn, and going through all the processes of doing a audio podcast and then mixing it and mastering it for distribution, doing the stills, the graphics, doing a recorded video version and putting it on YouTube, and helping my wife grow that channel, getting clips on her website. And so if you want to try to find her podcast and watch one, I'll put a link here in the description. You can also Google more about birth Shannon Bennett, and you should have one of her podcasts pop up. We're in season 2, so that's where I was putting a lot of my time. Once we moved back here, it was a little easier to do those podcasts, a little faster, because I'm recording them right on my ATEM Mini Pro. And so the turnaround time is a little faster. We went from 1 every week to 1 every 2 weeks, and occasionally I pop in some bonuses. So that's why we just have been building this channel really the last 3 months. And so thank you so much for subscribing. Again, I'm Keith. I hope you enjoyed this home studio versus large venue. You saw some of the behind the scenes things, and we're going to go back again Thursday and get some more behind the scenes things. And I'll share some of that in next Tuesday's live stream. As long as everything goes well, I should be back live on Tuesday. So again, thank you so much. Thank you for that question. John, thanks for joining me. And Hank from Bluffton, South Carolina. That's really cool. So John, let me know where you are, and thank you so much. You can share this with your friends. You can recommend it. I would be happy to have anybody in your network come and pop in here and learn and grow. So thank you so much for tuning in to this live. And again, I appreciate it very much. Hopefully sometime between now and the fall, we'll be able to see 1,000 subscribers. And I even reached out to the dev store saying, is there a way I could possibly get a loaner ATEM Mini ISO? I know another guy I listen to, Aaron Parecki, does a live on Sundays. You should check him out. He just got the dev store loaned him an ATEM Extreme ISO because he has one on order, and I'm sure he got his order in, and he's probably going to receive his ordered version this week. So I was asking them if there's any way someone like me could get access to that so that I can do some demos here on my channel. But I will be on the list. They'll send me one when they get it. And when we get it, we'll talk more about it. So thank you so much for tuning into the channel. We're going to roll out with some music and a still, and let you kind of see my friends here on the shelf behind me as we go out. And until the next video, I am Keith. This is Life Journey Production Studios, and I appreciate you being here with me tonight. So have a great night, have a great journey, and we will see you again very, very soon.